Hello again. I would like to continue because many people feel that science is too difficult to try to understand. And I happen to agree. If you try as a non-scientist to delve into the realm of the equation, you get completely lost. But the information in the videos that I'm trying to put together hopefully will show you a clearer understanding for the non-scientist, for I am a non-scientist. I have a good basic scientific background, but there's no way that my mind can get around the equation. So I don't worry about that. I concentrate more on the concepts that are being taught or being explained through the scientific world. And when you look at it in this way, it's not so difficult, really. There is a well-known scientific idea, too, that everything in the spiritual world is pretty much nonsense. And they feel this simply because they so far have no scientific mathematical proof of many of the spiritual concepts. I hope the crow outside is not interrupting this because I don't have time to stop today. There are no mathematical equations explaining things like a spirit or an angel or something like the essence of imagination, not what is imagination, the neural processes of the brain, but what is the essence of imagination? And these are some of the questions that I deal with in my two books, which I will show to you at the end of the video here. There are many people also in the spiritual world that will basically simply say to you that they have no time for science. Okay? They'll say things like, well, I don't really go there. Or, oh, this is over my head. And so this kind of thought process actually allows them to not even try to look at some of the scientific concepts and try to understand how they might correlate also to the experiences that they're having in this lifetime. But I find that both sides are simply dismissing the other, and neither seems willing to even listen or give the other side any kind of benefit or any value in the information that they are bringing into the human realm or into the human consciousness. So what I would recommend is that both sides, both the scientific and the spiritual side, open both their hearts and their heads to a fuller understanding of what it is to be human. If they open their heads and their hearts, there is then full acceptance of the entire experience that we can have. Neither side, if you will, neither science nor spirit alone has the full story. It's so simple when you really think about it. Both sides make up this human realm, and we're all trying to get through it and trying to understand the concepts. And so instead of fighting each other all the time by saying, well, no, you're wrong and I'm right, this kind of scenario that you find everywhere, instead of taking that attitude and instead of taking that pathway, instead of taking those thoughts and creating them into your reality, why not shift them to a more beneficial thought process, which would be something like, yes, I understand that both sides are deeply needed in order to understand the full experience of what is this human reality. There is a poem that I've made a video of, and if you've already seen it, you will probably recognize from the latter stanzas of the poem the quote that I'm going to say to you now. In fact, the poem's name is Our Three Creation Myths. And you might take a look at the video that I tried to do on that. Near the end of the poem, it says, and I will read here, "Confusion seems to reign, though, until faith and mind combine, as human awareness expands into one in cycles and cycles and cycles of conscious rhythm and rhyme." So this says it all for me, that there is no way that the full experience of being human can be described without an understanding of both sides. So now let's briefly look at some of these combinations, more combinations. Some more combinations of the science with the spiritual. And while we're doing this, I'd like you to open your mind and your heart and to listen simply to the information without judgment of being, oh, this is too difficult, or my mind can't get around this. Those are destructive thought patterns, okay? Open your heart and your mind and try to simply listen without even understanding. You don't need to understand yet. Just allow the words to come into your consciousness, and comprehension will then come. So, in 1905, Einstein gave us the concept of relative space. So, what does this mean? What does relative space mean? It says that any object, body, form has a boundary, and this is its relative space. And then Einstein says that as speed increases and approaches the speed of light, this space, this relative space, grows smaller and smaller, bit by bit, until up to the speed limit of light, nothing more exists. Now, the spiritual interpretation of this concept would be the state of being one with all that is. This point of being one with all there is the point where there is no more separation, no more duality, as we call it in the spiritual world. There are no more boundaries, and therefore there is no body, no form, or no space with any kind of a definition of a boundary. In other words, nothing more exists except for the indefinite all. And now remember that this indefinite all is a formless state. Okay, it's not a state of being. It is a formless state of pure potential, ready to be. And there is nothing physical in this formless state, which I call the consciousness that is. And this then sounds a whole lot like Einstein to me. And sounds very much to me like science and spirit are saying exactly the same thing. There becomes a point when nothing more exists that has a boundary. Science, and especially Einstein, also gave us the concept of relative time. And Einstein said that as we approach and attain the speed of light, time slows down until it comes to a stop, until time ceases, until there is no more time. Now, in the spiritual way of saying this, the pure state of the consciousness that is the all-potential state of all potential time. Now, this is what I call the timeless state, or the constant state of no time. It is a point of timeless time. And if you can try to get your mind around that, it's exactly the same as what Einstein is saying, that once again, as with relative space, relative time at the speed of light ceases to exist. It becomes the timeless time. And again, that to me is science and spirit saying exactly the same thing. Now, Einstein gave us the speed of light as the limiting speed of our universe. It is said that upon attaining the speed of light, a body's mass, in other words, its space, becomes infinitely great. These are the words that are used to describe what happens with mass as it attains the speed of light. It becomes infinitely great. Now this obviously sounds a whole lot to me like this state of the consciousness that is infinitely great, with no boundaries and with pure potential. This sounds a lot to me like the point when our human realm transforms back into this infinitely great state of the consciousness that is. Now, a lot of these examples that I'm giving would join all of the other spiritual compared to scientific descriptions that I've given in my 2 books. And I'm bringing these ideas to you in an attempt to bring humanity together. We all are thinking, even the scientists, many of them at this point, are talking about this state of being one with all. And I'm hoping by showing you the correlations between science and spiritual interpretation that I'm doing a little bit in trying to show you that we are indeed one, expressing the same concept with simply different metaphors, different languages, different definitions, but the same concept. Many who channel have said that there is chaos as we approach the transformation, that the state of chaos is what's going to begin to be. And I would like to say that in classical physics today, which has changed because of our neutrino, suddenly classical science and quantum science are thrown into complete chaos. More the classical because its rules are now breaking down. Quantum says that there's all potential. It has a few rules as well, of course, but everything now is changing because of the information about the neutrino and its ability to exceed the speed limit of light. Now, the human mind likes to be ordered. It enjoys that. It feels more secure having everything mapped out for them. But I'm asking you to simply trust the process. Trust your consciousness and trust in the consciousness that is. When you accept that the chaos that is now being unleashed, not in a big way yet, but that will be more and more as more rules break down, that this chaos is simply part of our human transformation. Transformation, again, is not an end. It is a transformation of our consciousness from one level into another. Consciousness carries through the chaos. Consciousness is what connects you to your loved one. Try your hardest to develop your understanding of consciousness so that you can connect better, or not connect better, no, that's incorrectly said, so that you can be more aware of the connection that you already have to this consciousness. And this is what will carry you through the chaos. And so the title of my second book, Did Einstein Understand E equals mc squared, Removing the Veil? That's exactly why it is given that title. Einstein was given E equals mc squared as the equation of this universe because it has both the scientific and the spiritual interpretations which give us a full understanding of what is the human realm. Both sides are needed to allow our consciousness to shift. The acceptance of both is needed to transform our world. And both are needed to connect us to consciousness. So I ask both sides to understand that they need each other so that we can become the one that we truly are. I thank you for listening again.